Is an amazing day and welcome back. I hope your week has come to a beautiful close. It has been a heck of a week, the final week before the 2024 election, and we've got a lot of election litigation to talk about here on the show. And as always, very grateful to have you here. Hopefully you're feeling good. Hopefully you're feeling energized because it's just a few days away from now, and I hope that you're getting those votes in, baby, and dragging everyone you know to get their votes in as well. I spent some time texting my friends today, and very simple format. All the bros out there, if you're it's kind of a weird thing to text some bros. You just, hey bro, ballot check. Get that ballot in? Hey, get that ballot in, baby? Hey bro, checking in. Ballot check, right? That's all it is. And boom, found a couple friends that hadn't gotten theirs in yet. Said, okay, look, here's a drop box right by you. Just fill it out, drop it off. So hopefully that is happening. We are dragging people to the polls, and it's going to be a lot of fun. And we're not dragging that many people. Actually, a lot of people are going pretty excitedly to the polls. We're excited about that too. So we're going to keep that energy up here, baby. And we are going to have a little programming edition. So little note, we'll come back tomorrow, which is going to be Saturday here. We're not normally live. We'll be live. Don't know exactly what time yet. And we'll come back on Sunday because there is so much election litigation out there. It's honestly like the fog of war is now upon us. We're entering into this era, this time frame where there's so much happening in all these various states. The news is popping off about every 5 minutes. So it's fog of war territory, and it's going to be hard for everybody or anybody to keep tabs on what's happening in all the various states. So we're going to see what's popping up, keep our eyes on them. So we'll be back here tomorrow and on Sunday. Thanks for subscribing and hitting that notification bell so you know when things are scheduled, when we'll be live, and what we'll be talking about. So it's go time, baby. Now let's get a preview on what we're talking about today, because we do have some stuff that is fresh right out of the oven. We've been this week focusing a lot on Colorado, which has had a disaster of an election launch courtesy of Jena GRISWOLD. And she came out with a news release. They're changing some rules, just dropped this late last night, and said she announced some changes, and they are now deputizing people to go out and update the machines. And that has now been completed as of today. So I got an update on this. The Libertarian Party is suing there in Colorado. So they filed this complaint today, fresh out of the oven. We'll read through it. They're pretty upset about this. There's more calls for her resignation as well from other folks. And we'll look at exactly what's happening because apparently she's gotten the machines updated. But the question is, what damage was done? You can see the El Paso County Clerk is also asking that she resign. So we had the news anchor ask for her resignation, and now other officials who govern the election are asking the same. So a bunch of stuff happening in Colorado. We'll parse through it. Then we've got another update in Pennsylvania because there is new evidence of fraud, not only in the one county that we identified and talked about some time ago, but apparently this guy now, Mike Mancuso, he is telling us that the Monroe County Board has identified other problems in Pennsylvania, saying several of the voter registration applications have been found to be fraudulent. Uh-oh. So we'll go through that. A lot of eyeballs in Pennsylvania, obviously a critical state. And there's a bunch of news coming out here that the fraud cases are widening out there. We've got a DA who's investigating. We've got in Arizona, right? They're investigating fraud over there in Arizona. Our attorney general is now investigating Trump for commenting on Liz Cheney and saying that she's a chicken hawk who would never go and volunteer to serve her country in the way that she demands of others. And we got AGs looking in there. But meanwhile, the question is, if Arizona is the home base of this fraudulent activity, will Chris Mays investigate that? We'll see. Because the fraud in Pennsylvania may be originating from the fraud in Arizona, from this company called, well, we'll come back with the name. Field and Media Corp is the name of the company. So we'll talk about them. This is also what Harmeet is talking about, saying that they get paid big bucks from Democrats. And so if there's fraud in Pennsylvania, is there fraud in Arizona? Probably. GOP lawmakers also hitting the panic button, saying overseas military ballots have some deficiencies. Uh-oh. Pentagon stockpile has been depleted. And now the FBI and CISA, right on cue, my friends. Hilarious, right? November 1st, this morning, they came out, they dropped this, a joint statement, Office of the Department of National Intelligence, and the FBI and CISA. They released a joint statement on foreign influence, and guess who it is? The Russians. Again, obviously. It's like season 3 of this, all right? We're all familiar with it. So we'll see what their joint statement said. They put out a press release, pretty short statement, but about what we would expect. And then we've got some more updates coming up. Now, that is the segment on Pennsylvania. But then we'll talk about Trump, man, because he filed this lawsuit, and it's a big one. $10 billion, and I hope he gets every penny of it, against CBS News for editing out, which is election interference. I mean, clearly, they edited Kamala's interview, and there's a big sequence that happened here. There was a bunch of letters that came in from Trump's attorneys saying, we want the transcript, we want the transcript, release the tapes, we want the full video. Demand letter after demand letter. I've got multiple exhibits here that we'll go through and review. But Trump is suing for $10 billion. That's a lot of super chats, and I hope he gets it or close to it. Because, you know, these people are hacks. And how much damage have they caused collectively to President Trump through their fake news and their fake media? A lot. So we'll see where that lawsuit goes, but it's a good one, and it's right in the middle of the election. CBS knows what they're doing. Of course, that's their entire prerogative. So some great stuff coming up. Glad that you're here. We've also got our friends over at the 2A Republic. If you're looking for some new gear and you want to look amazing like this dude with this shirt, which is what I was wearing all night last night at the Trump Tucker event, it was amazing. Well, at 2A Republic, we believe that the Second Amendment is black and white at 2A. And their designs that you see them designing, well, they reflect that belief. The phrase shall not be infringed is a very clear statement. It's not a loose suggestion or a loose t-shirt. And so you can check them out, 2A Republic. They're based in Arizona. All their stuff is made in the United States. And if you believe in the Second Amendment, if you also think it's black and white, grab a shirt, grab some gear. And if you have a 2A fanatic in your life, holidays right around the corner. They make great gifts, unique holiday gifts. And when you order them, they come in this beautiful box. When you open it up, there's a nice message inside. If you like the Second Amendment, you'll like it. And so proceeds from your gear go to support this channel, and anything that you buy that's a Trump shirt is going to go to Elon's PAC so you can support his work and will protect the generations to come. And so thanks for supporting our work. Thanks for grabbing some gear as we continue to search for the truth. Check it out, 2A Republic. Links down in the description below. And thanks for supporting those guys, and we're working on that together. They're awesome dudes. Okay, so let's check it out, my friends. This is what's happening in Colorado with Jena Griswold. Jena Griswold under fire. Other people now demanding her resignation in addition to just the news media. People who actually govern the elections are saying she's done a terrible job. Bunch of stories queued up, and one of the big ones is that she has now come out and changed the election operations right at the last minute. She had to go back into all the machines after she leaked the passwords and then update the machines. And we ask ourselves, well, I thought the machines were kind of checked, validated, certified, sealed, signed, delivered. They're operational. When you have them sealed up and they're operational, you then don't want to go in and unseal them and then go in there and update the BIOS, which is the root base layer software that gives you presumably access to everything you could ever want everywhere. So you don't really want to change that stuff like when you're in the middle of the election. You know, it might be a problem. But here, Governor Polis, that same governor who was singing, I think it was the Macarena or something on that weird X video, and Griswold, they announced additional state resources are being deployed to ensure election security, which is strange because we just heard from Jena earlier this week, and she said there was no election security problem because it was only one key, and you needed both keys to turn the missile silo, and only one side got out, evidently. Now, if I had to guess, I'd guess that the other passwords were not secure either, probably on sticky notes around somewhere, which might be the reason why ballots that were sent to voters in Colorado, in particular Trump County voters that were voting for Trump 2/3 over Joe last time in 2020, intercepted and voted for on behalf of those voters before they ever received the ballots. I don't know how that happened. Did it originate from her office, or did it originate from the U.S. Postal Service? Is their attorney general looking into it? Are they updating us on that? No, they're updating their passwords though. And now they're adding in some additional layers of security. So they give us this update. This is from Colorado. Ridiculous. Says this week, GRISWOLD announced that a spreadsheet located on the department website improperly included a hidden tab, including partial passwords, one factor among many layers of security that includes multiple passwords and physical presence in a badged area. It's like, okay, cope harder. To certain machines of Colorado voting systems. If it was all secure, you wouldn't have to go in and update all these things. Just throw away passwords that are meaningless. But today, Governor Polis announced that the executive branch is providing the Secretary of State human capital. Oh, great. Air and ground assets and other logistical support to complete changes to all the impacted passwords and to review logs to ensure that no tampering occurred. Wow. It's like an operation. Like Black Hawk helicopters flying Dominion technicians to all 700 different locations. Drop him off. Guys, parachuting out of a helicopter with the USB drive, plugging it in. It's crazy. Right in the middle of an election. Air and ground assets? What? To go update some passwords? Okay. The Secretary of State will deputize certain state employees. Which state employees? We have questions over. Which ones? The ones who believe like Jena does, or the ones who are fair and impartial, who have cybersecurity and technology expertise, and who've undergone appropriate background checks and training? It's crazy, man. It's like a SWAT team being deployed out to all the systems that are courtesy of Jena and Governor Polis going out there. And remember how much whining we hear from the Democrat lawsuits, like they're suing all of the secretaries. Well, this is going to cause chaos. And yeah, gosh, if you have to hand count the ballots, it's going to be bedlam. It's going to be crazy in Georgia. If you just have to stack a ballot, 50 in this stack, 50 in this stack, 50 in that stack, and then you reconcile them with the number of votes that came in the machine. Obviously pretty easy to do that. They had a meltdown in Georgia. We're going to die. Nobody can count here. Whoa, Fanny. And it was bedlam, according to them. Now, these Democrats are going to deploy like an army to go out and just update all these machines with air assets. Okay. In addition to the Department of State employees and Jena's little brown shirts, in coordination with county clerks, these employees will only enter badged areas in pairs together. Great. With they're holding hands to update the passwords for the election equipment in counties, and will be directly observed by local election officials from the county clerk's office. All right. The goal is to complete the password updates by this evening and to verify the security of the voting components, which are secured behind locked doors by county clerks. Now, quote, "We are deploying additional state resources to address this unfortunate leak," said the governor of Colorado. "We want to resolve the current situation quickly by lending resources to help get the necessary passwords changed as quickly as possible with minimal impact on county clerk operations. Now, we are dedicated to process improvements to instill confidence in our elections, of which there are none. We want to be able to provide assurances that all votes are counted fairly and accurately in this election and all elections, except other people had their votes completed for them. And we're grateful for the work of the county clerks in overseeing this process." And Jena came out and said, "Colorado has countless layers of security to ensure voters' voices are heard." Give me a break. I get so irritated when she says this. Voters' voices are heard. She should never be allowed to say that again, ever. She should be banned from that statement for all time, because she initiated the attempt to throw Trump off the ballot. So nobody's voice could be heard who wanted to vote for Trump. So never again should she be ever able to say that again. Someone tell Kamala we want to borrow her speech. Never again, Jena. I'm thankful to the governor for his support to quickly resolve this unfortunate mistake. On Wednesday morning, Governor Polis was briefed on the disclosure and the overall election security environment. Okay. He spoke with GRISWOLD and, acting on her request, worked with his team to identify and deploy more Democrat resources to update the passwords and to download access logs. That's just great. And probably the Republican Party just got steamrolled too. Do they have any say in this at all? The state is leveraging resources from across various departments and coordinating with Jena's office and numerous local and federal partners as well, like CISA, I'm sure. We got CDPS divisions, including Homeland Security. Oh, great. They're going to be there. And Colorado State Patrol are all collaborating with Jena's office. Amazing. So Department of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Oh, the Division of Homeland Security, CDPS divisions, Division of Homeland Security. Is that a local entity or a federal entity? Don't know. DHSEM is coordinating the state's overall elections response through the activation of Colorado to ensure that all can vote. The Colorado, it might be a local agency, so maybe it's not federal homeland. But if you see something suspicious near an election site, does that include Jena GRISWOLD? Yeah, we see her. She's running the election. Should we report that? Or experience election intimidation? Yeah, Jena GRISWOLD. She tried to throw Trump off the ballot. Said he's an insurrectionist, trying to get people to not vote. Can we report her? Suspicion? Yeah, she's leaking passwords. And her office is having other people vote for their voters in Colorado. Sheesh. All right, so that's what happened there. Now, here was one of the rule changes that came down. So it's from her office. Jena GRISWOLD, horrendous Secretary of State, says this is notice of temporary adoption, adopted rules amendments as authorized by Colorado law and the APA. Colorado Department of State makes these amendments. And so this is about the updating of the BIOS passwords. If the secretary determines that any BIOS passwords, this is their new emergency rule, section 12. They amended it, right? So they just say, oh, crap, we need a new rule. What's the rule? Well, if the secretary determines that any BIOS passwords needs to be changed, then an employee or designee of the secretary may be tasked with accessing the voting system component to change the password. Can you believe this? So she just made a huge problem. Then she wrote a rule for herself that she had to follow. And she's going to follow the rules. And she just made an amendment to do that. And nice, pretty neat. The employee or the designee of the Secretary of State may also, she gave herself this power, take actions to investigate the voting system. Any employee or designee of the state who performs a task in accordance with this must first pass a background check. Oh, great. And so she just writes her own little rule. Signed by Christopher Beale, Deputy Secretary of State. Jenna couldn't even sign it. Pathetic. So here's another one. Another basis here's I think this is the same rule, the statement of the basis. Well, the basis of the rule is that Jenna's incompetent and her office published leaked passwords. Yeah. The new rule will allow Jena to appoint designees to handle BIOS passwords. This rule authorizes her to make this change, and this section authorizes her to make this change. And all of these require her to make these changes, allow her to make these changes, and so she's done it. It's incredible. These people just screw up and they write rules that they have to follow that give them more powers to fix the problem that they caused. And who knows what those fixes will enable them to do. Color me skeptical. And you know what? I wouldn't be so skeptical, to be fair to Jena, if she was a good person who wanted people to vote for the candidates that they wanted to vote for. I wouldn't have a problem. It's a mistake. You know, I won't attribute ill will to some goofy mistake that happened. But she's not that person. She's a terrible person who tried to disenfranchise a candidate from America. Okay, it was in Colorado where she started, but she wanted to create a domino effect that would spread this all around America. So if she had integrity, then I wouldn't treat her or consider her to be a person lacking integrity, right? But she has none. So when problems like this happen, then we can become skeptical because she's already shown us that she is ripe for believing she's acting with malice and ill will because she's had about 50 interviews showing us that in real time. Now, it's a problem. Colorado governor was working on this, as we saw a bit in their message. The Colorado County Clerks Association said in a statement that because the voting systems have layers of safeguards and there's a plan already in place, they can say that the Colorado elections are secure. All right. Trump's campaign sent a letter to GRISWOLD to express their concern, which followed a similar letter from another chairman of the GOP, which we read. GRISWOLD responded in a letter Thursday saying that because of the many security levels, no single error can compromise the integrity of the system. Okay. Well, this was one error. Have you attributed for all the other possible errors or all the other possibilities of a breach? Like, did somebody else get the other sequence of passwords separately? Was there people who had lawful access and badges that could access it, right? If they have BIOS access, could they delete the logs so you couldn't check? And if they went in there for a justified reason, might they have a reason to be there in standing in front of the machine? So you could observe them standing in front of the machine, but they could be doing something that wasn't lawful for them to do and then cover it up. Are those possible? Yeah, probably. Obviously, they're freaking out about it because they're racing around, dropping people out of helicopters to fix the machines. GRISWOLD has called Colorado the gold standard for election security. Great. So that's amazing. What would be like the platinum standard? Would that be like uploading your passwords into a zip file or something? So you have to unzip it before you unhide it? Oh, fancy. Though the leaked spreadsheet shows a hiccup in 2022. Yeah. Colorado's other voting security measures are like around the clock, whatever. Colorado voters fill out paper ballots. They're audited. Yeah. The voting system was built. And remember, Jena also sent out 30,000 non-citizens registration reminders to go vote. Those tasked with changing the passwords are working in pairs, and so they're doing a great job, I'm sure. All right, so as we continue, now the Libertarian Party is not happy about this in Colorado, and so they filed a lawsuit against her. Good for them. They posted this. If you want to support them, they're at LPCO on X, and they're raising some funds to support this lawsuit. So if you're in Colorado and you want to see Jena GRISWOLD be held accountable and you want to support the Libertarian Party, which is, to my knowledge, the first who have filed a lawsuit on this issue, then you can do that. Now, they have a statement here, but let's jump right into their lawsuit and see what they are claiming happened. And this was filed fresh out of the oven November 1st in the district court out in Denver, Libertarian Party versus Jena GRISWOLD, one of the most incompetent secretaries of state that we've seen in modern America. Now, here's the Libertarian Party, and they say, all right, listen, we are the party of the libertarians, and we've got candidates who are running. That's why we're here. On Thursday, Jena removed a publicly accessible spreadsheet file named Voting Systems Inventory from the Colorado Secretary of State's website. This inventory file contained the BIOS passwords for election systems currently in use in 63 of 64 counties. The passwords were located on hidden sheets within the spreadsheet and were not encrypted, or otherwise protected. BIOS passwords allow a person to access and gain control over Colorado's voting systems, which includes the ability to manipulate those votes and the election results. Such access would allow that person to remove any trace of use by overriding the system logs necessary for a subsequent audit. There it is. In allowing these passwords to be available to the public, the Secretary has breached her duty to ensure Colorado's upcoming election is fair and accurate. And Colorado law requires the revocation of GRISWOLD security access to the state's voting system for causing these passwords to be published on the internet. And by the way, in addition to revoking Jena's security clearance for her massive failure, it's also punishable by up to a presumptive sentence of 1 to 3 years in the Department of Corrections. Jena, criminal charges coming soon. Instead of acting against the secretary, Christopher Beal, in his official capacity as her deputy, her number 2, he issued an emergency temporary voting rule change to allow the secretary to change the passwords. And we just read that rule change, that update, that Jena didn't have the courage to even sign herself. This would allow employees or designees of Secretary Jena to access Colorado's voting system literally days before the general election to change the system's configuration after they've been certified. The deputy secretary does not have the authority to make election rules, as she just did, and petitioners request that this temporary rule be voided. And we further request that, among other things, it's already done, right? She's already updated them because nobody had any say. They just launched everybody out there and just updated all the machines. Days before the election. Courts couldn't even act, right? This is the first lawsuit that hit on this. Petitioners further request that, among other things, this court decommission any voting system that was associated with the published passwords in Colorado's upcoming election. Colorado, your election is canceled. Thanks, Jena. Great job. And it should I mean, if you have a problem with, for example, a DUI gas chromatography machine, if the machine starts acting up, you have to pull it out of service and go through a whole process and procedure to do a root cause analysis. Why is the machine acting up? Everybody, all the defense attorneys melt down over it. Oh my God, it's clearly broken. My client is innocent. Lose their minds for good reason, because the machine's acting up and you don't know when it was acting up and what the software was doing. And so everything goes haywire, right, when those things happen. So it's a huge process to take a government machine out of service, to investigate it, validate it, recertify it, and then shove it back into the system. It's not something you just do overnight without anybody being involved in it other than your assigned people endorsed by the governor. And it's done. As I'll show you, it's already been done. It's incredible. So petitioner, the Libertarian Party, and others are suing. They say that on Thursday, she removed over 600 BIOS passwords to Colorado's voting systems in 63 of 64 state counties that were contained in a publicly available spreadsheet that Jena posted online. On Tuesday, October 29th, following the publication of the security breach by a third party, the secretary notified the affected counties. During that time, the voting systems in those counties were being used to scan ballots that had been mailed or delivered to the different counties respectively. Okay, so they were actually operating and counting ballots. The BIOS passwords had been on the secretary's website since at least June of 2024, which is before Colorado's primary elections that were held on June 25th. In Colorado, the Libertarian Party says, voters mark their election choices on paper ballots, which are scanned and tabulated by the voting devices. The subject BIOS passwords allow a user to access a county's voting systems and database. Colorado's computer voting systems are designed to allow county election officials to scan, tabulate, and review ballots and to store the vote count data on the machine. These passwords are a critical part of the security system for all of those things, for the scanners, scan the ballot in, the tabulators that count them, the servers that store the data. And the passwords allow access to a county's election management system. Wow, the EMS, its ImageCast central device, the Microsoft server, EMS client, adjudication client, and other voting devices. Whoo, man. Okay, so forgive me, I'm not a super techie person, but I do remember, ages ago when I would be tinkering around with computers and stuff, and you needed to update the BIOS, right? It's when you turn the computer on. Now you don't even see a lot of it. Like if you have an Apple computer, right, it just shows you the Apple device, the Apple logo just boots right up into the main operating system. But in other machines, like on the machine I'm on, it's a Windows machine. So as soon as I turn it on, it shows me the screen, Acer, I don't know what it is, shows me the screen of the motherboard. I can press delete or F1 and access the BIOS. And in that, okay, I'm just using a keyboard, mouse maybe, super limited functionality. You're just changing the boot sequence, boot from that hard drive, boot to that hard drive. You update it, you have a heart attack because you don't know if it's going to work or not, and it might fry your motherboard, you might melt down. And it's a process, right? But you never actually, in that layer, in that BIOS layer, you're never like going to log into your Gmail account because you're not in the actual Windows operating system. You're in the BIOS. It's in the first layer. So you can't you're not going to get into my Google Drive account if you have my BIOS password, but not my Windows password, unless you can access the BIOS to manipulate and get into the operating system, right? So there's different layers here, but here it sounds like once they have that BIOS password, they've got carte blanche, baby. They got everything. They've got the election management system, ImageCast, Microsoft server. They're logging, like they get the Gmail. They get, they're live streaming on your channel, baby. They got access to everything, whatever they want. Insane. Access to the voting system would allow the user to manipulate the data, change the totals, modify the procedures, and make significant changes on how the system operates, which includes disabling restrictions against certain devices that can be plugged in, like networking devices. Oh, no. Pursuant to CRS, Colorado statutes, the Secretary, Jena, has the duty, by law, to supervise the conduct of the general and primary elections, to serve as the state election official, and to follow the rules. and to secure the purity of Colorado's elections, Jena has failed, and to guard against the abuses of elections. And now she, Jena GRISWOLD, the Secretary of Colorado, has breached those duties by publishing the BIOS passwords on her website. Now, back in June of 2022, something happened. Colorado passed CRS 1-13708 subsection 2. It became Colorado law. And what they did is they passed this law that says any person who knowingly publishes or causes to be published, oh, Jena, you're in trouble, busted. Causes to be published passwords or other confidential information related to a voting system shall immediately have their authorized access revoked. And you're guilty of a Class 5 felony, Jena. Busted. Colorado law. No one is above the law in this country. And Jena is now guilty of a felony. Man, if she gets prosecuted here, she could be a convicted felon. Oh no. I wonder if she'll get arrested and have her mugshot taken. Wow. Now, here's another statute in Colorado. It says a public servant commits second-degree official misconduct if she knowingly, arbitrarily, or capriciously, which we often say is reckless, if she refrains from performing a duty that she is required to do, or if she violates any statute relating to her office, which is this one right here. Jena GRISWOLD, felon. Instead of taking corrective action against the secretary, the office of the Secretary of State, what did they do? They just changed the election rules. She just wrote a new rule that I'm allowed to do all this and fix all this 5 days before the election occurred. And she went and did it without any opportunity to even challenge it. On Thursday, October 31st, the Office of the Secretary of State issued a notice of temporary adoption, which we just read, of this new rule. And the new rule said, I'm Jena Ellis. I can do whatever I want. I can just assign people to go in and change passwords after I leak them on the internet. This so-called, I love so-called, new emergency rule was temporarily adopted by Christopher Beall for Jena GRISWOLD, who was too cowardly to sign her own failed document. The secretary doesn't have the authority under Colorado law to promulgate these new rules, which is why she didn't sign it. Now, the new rule is void. Incredible. If, in fact, Jena or this deputy was acting on behalf of Jena, the rule is void. Is void as against public policy, okay? Because based on information and belief, she violated her duty under Colorado law. She committed a crime. She can't change the rules to cover up her crime. That's crazy. Based upon the violation of Colorado statutes and the breach in the discharge of her duties, the voting devices and the systems to which the passwords were disclosed are no longer certified. We use the DoorDash analogy regularly. Okay, when it leaves the machine, when it leaves the restaurant, it's sealed. Okay, you give it to your driver, he delivers it to you, hopefully without eating any of your French fries. It's a sealed system. Now, if he opens it and starts playing around with it and then delivers it to you, now you have questions about the integrity of that meal. It's the same thing that happened. Jena is going back in. She's the driver who's reaching in and eating your French fries. This is an election. Now, based upon information and belief, any modifications, including the updating of passwords to the subject voting machines and systems herein, creates a circumstance where the previous certifications are void. That's why they're certified. In May, former Mesa County Clerk Recorder Tina Peters took video and photographs of the trusted build process of Mesa County's voting system, and that later appeared on the internet. Now, upon learning of the security breach, the Secretary Jena initiated an immediate investigation and issued 3 election orders pursuant to her statutory authority to do this. Jena went wild after Tina Peters' story came out. On August 9th, back in 2021, then Jena issued Election Order 2020-101, directing Miss Peters to, among other things, grant access to the Department of State civil servant employees to reset BIOS passwords on Mesa County voting machines and to inspect those machines for any evidence of tampering. So once Tina Peters became problematic, this is what they did. Identify individuals with access to the county voting system, produce a chain of custody of logs, and video surveillance of all the components. She also, Jen is like ordering. Okay, you did something bad, so give me these things. Produce communications related to the trusted build process, produce documents showing criminal background checks were performed on all staff, prohibit any individual from accessing any component of the voting system. Then, on August 12th, she issued another order. So first order was just putting Tina Peters on blast. Okay, give me everything and stop doing what you're doing. Then, guess what happened just a few days later? On August 9th was the first order. 3 days later, on the 12th, another order comes down. She ordered the decommissioning of all 41 voting components in Mesa that were affected by the BIOS passwords. And she forced the purchase of new equipment at the county's expense. Machines had to go. Couldn't use them. But these you can use. The secretary found that the chain of custody of the components could not be confirmed, including whether those components were accessed or altered after May 25th, 2021. And then the Clerks Association, comprised of Colorado's 64 Republican, Democrat, and unaffiliated county clerks and recorders, announced its support for the secretary's prohibition on the use of Mesa County's voting. Okay, they said someone in Mesa County opened your DoorDash order. Okay, they opened your pizza box before it got delivered to you and they started eating some pizza. Or they did something. You don't know what they did. But either way, you don't want to eat it anymore because it's gross. So it's tainted. So they said, everybody agreed. The machines are tainted. We can't verify what the heck happened. So they have to go. Whole state. On August 17th, the secretary issued another order just a few days later. She appointed this woman called Sheila Rayner and later former Secretary of State Wayne Williams to supervise and conduct all of the Mesa County elections. Huge Trump state county in Colorado. And they created a 3-person advisory committee. They freak out. Like, all of these things happen when there's a security breach. All these things have to happen. Jena didn't do any of these. None. She just updated the passwords. It's already done. On July 11th, and this lawsuit was filed today. The passwords were updated in one night. She announced the rule change and updated all the passwords. And they had air support to do it, flying around all over Colorado to do it instantly. So nobody could stop them. On July 11th, the secretary adopted another rule, 2022, which stated, the civil servants at the Department of State will securely and confidentially maintain all BIOS passwords. Great. So Ms. Peters was later prosecuted, as we know. She's currently in DOC. I think her sentence was 9 years, which is insane. And Jena just changed the rules, even though she acted capriciously to violate her duties and caused, maybe not knowingly caused, but caused the passwords to be online. Class 5 felon Jena. So here are their claims for relief. They say, Colorado law says when any controversy arises between any official charged with any duty, when they file a complaint after notice, they say that the burden of proof is on the petitioner. And here, there's a controversy. That's why we're here. She's got a duty to make sure our elections work. She's breached her duty and committed the wrongful acts that we've talked about here. Now, on October 30th, President Trump, through his lawyer, sent a letter to Jena requesting that, quote, a new trusted build be conducted and an immediate halt of the processing of mail ballots received in preparation to rescan all mail ballots already scanned after the new trusted build and logic and accuracy tests are completed. So you got to recertify the machines, hold all the ballots on the side, recertify the machines. You can't just re-update the passwords and make a bunch of changes and continue to shove passwords through it. You got to revalidate it. go back to the restaurant, make sure it's exactly how it was, make sure the pizza is exactly how it was, then send it back, make a new one. But set everything aside until then. Attached here too is a copy of the letter, and it's contained herein. Now, petitioners do not believe that simply changing the passwords and conducting a new trusted build is insufficient under these circumstances, or probably is sufficient under these circumstances. Therefore, the petitioners request that this court orders, they're filing this lawsuit like immediately. We forgive typos when it's like urgent, right? Petitioners, and I think that petitioners do not believe that simply changing the passwords and conducting a new trusted build is sufficient under these circumstances. And so therefore, they request an order saying that Jena and her office be immediately recused from participating in this election. Jena's got to go. Every voting system component to which the published passwords are associated be immediately decommissioned. That's Jena's standard. Those were her rules. They decommissioned the other machines in Mesa County when there were security breaches. Now she says there's no evidence of more security breaches. Doesn't mean that they did not happen. You've had 2 days to investigate it, and you already changed the passwords. The ballots submitted to the respective counties, they want them to be hand counted. They want this rule that they passed for themselves to be declared void. And the Colorado Attorney General, not Jena, should conduct an investigation into how this all got published. They want this court saying that she should be served with this. They want a hearing to be held this coming Monday on November 4th. They want the Attorney General to conduct a full and fair investigation saying every voting system component in Colorado should be immediately decommissioned if it was associated with the BIOS passwords. They're tainted. So that is the right decision. All of the ballots submitted by Colorado voters must be hand counted, and respondents desist from promulgating any new rules or regulations concerning this matter. They want Jena to pay attorney's fees and costs. And great filing submitted by Gary Fiedler and Hannah Goodman and James Wiley in Colorado. Excellent filing, actually, and it gives us some very good insight into what is ultimately happening here, saying Jena, it's already done. So let me show you this. They filed this November 1st, just to be clear on how quickly they operated our corrupt government. October 31st, she issues a new rule. She literally issues the rule on the same day that they then complete the password systems update. Nobody has a chance to even file a lawsuit or even be heard. That's how quick they happened. And the governor gave them air support. This was all orchestrated. Washington Examiner says, yeah, passwords were already updated. Here's the report. Passwords that were accidentally leaked have now been changed. Jena GRISWOLD said, quote, all of the passwords in affected counties have been changed, she said in a press release. She thanked Governor Jared Polis for his help in this effort, and it's now done. So amazing how quickly they can work when they're in the midst of a cover-up. People are very upset about it. We've got El Paso County Clerk and Recorder has formally requested that she resign. This brought to our attention courtesy of Jen Schumann. What's up, Jen? Says, here, November 1st, this came out to the Honorable Jena GRISWOLD, and it's from El Paso County. He's a clerk and recorder there. He says to Jena, hey, Jena, I am writing to formally request your resignation due to significant concerns over election integrity incidents that have occurred under your tenure. Your leadership, Jena, has been marked by several high-profile security breaches that have compromised public trust and our process. Telling her, Colorado election protocols mandate that clerks report and document incidents immediately, as required by the law. But you have consistently not adhered to these standards of transparency, particularly where your office screws up. On multiple occasions, critical incidents, such as the issuance of voter registration cards or that were sent to ineligible people, and the exposure of BIOS passwords that were not even communicated promptly to the 64 county clerks, the delayed response placed the clerks across the state in a position where they're unprepared to address voter and media concerns, even though you knew all this was happening. You could have warned the people who are running the elections, but you didn't. As elected officials, Jena, we're we're held to high standards of ethical and professional conduct. Effective leadership demands accountability, transparency, active listening, and resilience. And I must emphasize that this request is not a reflection on the Secretary of State's staff, who consistently demonstrate dedication and professionalism. However, it is disconcerting that even within your office, there are concerns regarding the direction and management of these issues, which have placed undue strain on a team committed to upholding election integrity. And furthermore, the reporting error from your office during the 2021 election night, which affected 6 counties, underscores the ongoing challenges of reliable communication and accountability. Once again, county clerks back then were left to explain errors to their constituents and to the media, further diminishing their belief in our elections. These incidents have placed an unwarranted burden on the clerks and the recorders all across the state, whose tireless efforts to uphold the election and our integrity are compromised by recurring missteps and lapses in your communication, Jena. The resulting erosion of public confidence has impacted Colorado voters, elected leaders, and the dedicated election staff and amazing judges. Now, I am dismayed that despite the seriousness of this security error, you have yet to meet with all of Colorado's elected clerks and recorders to address this. A change in leadership could help restore trust among Colorado citizens and strengthen our elections systems, Jena. And so, I respectfully urge you to consider this request in the best interest of Colorado's future and our shared democratic values. Thank you for your attention to this matter. Sincerely, your friend, Steve Schleicher. Resign, Jena. Will she? No. She'll ride it in through election day because she's there. She's got a job to do. She passes rules that serve herself. She was an operative who was initiating and launching the Trump removal efforts. And now she, in our opinion, committed a felony, and she should be prosecuted accordingly. And we'll be here to see when that happens. All right, so let's carry on, my friends. That was a Colorado update. That was a juicy one. Jena, one of the worst. All right, let's continue on. We're going over to Pennsylvania. Pennsylvania voter fraud. We'll do that one again. Pennsylvania voter fraud expands into multiple counties. You can see this was a post that was clipped over from a district attorney in Pennsylvania. His name is Mike Mancuso, and he posted this. We've talked about other stories here where there was 2,600 ballots, something around those numbers, where it allegedly was one person or several people filling out all of the registrations. It looked like identical. As they were coming in, they got caught. It was one county. We talked about it here, did a full segment on it and broke it down. They had a press conference. But now that investigation or the allegations of fraud have expanded beyond just that one county, and it goes all the way back to a company in Arizona that a lot of people are paying attention to and asking questions about. Where is this fraud originating and who's behind it? And it turns out it is a Democratic operation, as we've already said. If it was a Trump organization who was behind it, we speculated here back during that segment, we would know. If it was a Trump team that was doing it, they would have come out front and center. Trump and Russia are doing it again. Obviously, because they were being coy about it. Well, we don't know. We're still investigating. We don't know who these people are. We had suspicion it was a Democratic operation. Otherwise, they would have told us. But here is this new post from the district attorney. And he says this. Last week, following a regular review of voter registration and mail-in ballot request forms received in its office, the Monroe County Board of Elections identified approximately 30 irregular forms. Now, those forms were segregated, and the matter was referred to the Monroe County District Attorney for investigation. Since then, the Office of the District Attorney has been investigating the referral by the Monroe County Board of Elections. Several of the voter registration applications and mail-in ballot request forms have been found to be fraudulent, as they were not authorized by the persons named as the applicants. In at least one example, the named applicant is in fact dead, deceased. To date, several of the fraudulent voter registration forms have been traced to a specific person. A company calling itself, quote, Field and Media Corp., a subsidiary of Field Corp., an Arizona-based organization working out of Lancaster County in Pennsylvania, in turn was responsible for submitting the forms in question to the county officials. And so we're always careful, right? We don't know. Were they operating this? Were they a victim of some overzealous ballot collector person, registration form collector person, canvasser? The broader investigation continues with reference to Field Corp's involvement. Our office is in regular contact and working with investigations and ERS from the Attorney General's office as well as others. A further update will be made. If you have any information, please contact them. So Mike Mancuso, the DA, coming out with that update, and the news is reporting voter fraud expanding all over Pennsylvania. It widens now. So the application fraud investigation is expanding, says Lancaster. First identified fraudulent forms dropped off in 2 large batches near the deadlines. They came back from the summer. Fake names, fake addresses, forged signatures. York and Berks counties reported similar issues. Now, Monroe County also found 30, as we just heard. Looking up the company, Field and Media Corp, the company is based in Arizona, but it's working out of Lancaster. Their website listed a number of Democratic campaigns as clients, including Biden-Harris. Oh, Mark Kelly. Oh, and Arizona Democrats. Amazing. Calls to the number listed on the website went unreturned, and the website was taken down. Oh, that's very interesting. So then that lends to the theory that it's not just an errant registration form harvester. It's actually maybe kind of a problematic organization. Like, let's nuke the website. Election officials and county commissioners in Lancaster and Monroe said their systems of checks and balances worked for the ones that were idiotic, where they just made it look the same. However, Lancaster said that he would like the Department of State and the Secretary of State in Pennsylvania to send out an alert to all counties to be cautious about this organization and to scrutinize any last-minute ballots that come in. So voter fraud seems like it's continuing out over there. And here was some more on the organization. There are different people. This guy who is the CEO and the partner, his name is Francisco Heredia, apparently. And our friend Harmeet said that the people behind these illegal PA registrations, Field Corp, she looked into this, have been paid more than $2.9 million by Arizona Democrats alone so far this year, and hundreds of thousands by Mi Familia Vota, which is their favorite vehicle for court challenges in Arizona, right? So see how all these entities work? She looked them up. You can see $2.9 million over there. Looks like this was the leadership team before the website was taken down, or actually they published this on a newswire, PR newswire, telling us who these people are. So they posted this back out of Phoenix, October 26, but apparently they nuked their website, but this is what they published as a PR release. Call themselves a leading political field operations firm, thrilled to announce its transformation. We're now going to be a comprehensive joint field media and communications agency. Great. One-stop solution for political campaigns. We have a great experienced team. Natural progression for the company. Key features by these guys. Data-driven operations, media production, integrated campaign strategy, compliance hub. Oh, compliance hub. We assist with media and field operations and reporting expenditures accurately. All right, so that's what they published. They're apparently not around anymore, but we'll see what the Pennsylvania executive branch does, whether the Attorney General looks into it, whether any county prosecutors look into it, or whether any of this gets resolved before the election. And the question, of course, is, yeah, I'm sure they did catch some fraudulent ballots. What about the others? What was their success rate? What was the fraudsters' success rate? How often did they get ballots past the post? More than 30 that they were able to catch? Probably. Meanwhile, another attorney general is investigating Trump in Arizona. And we'll tie this back together because, of course, this company is coming from Arizona. And yes, the fraud that we're questioning is in Pennsylvania. The question is, have we caught it in Arizona? If they're operating here in Arizona, our attorney general is not looking into that at all because she's currently looking into Trump and his statement about Liz Cheney. And I was there at the rally with Trump and Tucker last night, and it was amazing. very honored to be able to be in that room with some amazing friends all throughout Arizona and the world were there. And it was a great evening. But what Trump said about Liz Cheney was he called her a chicken hawk, because that's exactly what she is. She'll send other people to die in foreign wars, make up stories about it so that her and her daddy's companies can make a ton of money off dead Americans. And we're pretty sick of it. So Trump brought it up and said maybe if she were on the front lines and had an ounce of skin in the game and wasn't just sending other people to die in her endless wars, then she would think differently about it. That was the point. Everybody knows that was the point. The media is embarrassing themselves, and all the people who are on the Democratic side who are out there saying that he said that he wanted to execute somebody and stuff like that. It's showing and illustrating and highlighting who they are. It's like, wow, you listened to that and said Trump wanted her executed? Is that what you heard? All right. Now you know. Okay, now you know about that person and that there's probably a cognitive deficit there, so you can stay away. But here is the announcement that they're going to be investigating Trump from our Attorney General, who's a Democrat partisan hack called Chris Mays.
And Bram Resnick, the political anchor and reporter from our NBC affiliate in Phoenix, KPNX, joins us. Talk about this breaking news regarding Donald Trump's comments that he made about Liz Cheney in Arizona last night. The Attorney General is responding?
That's right. I just spoke to Attorney General Chris Mays about 2 hours ago for the taping of my Sunday show. She told me she just gotten off the phone with her criminal division chief, and she was investigating whether what Donald Trump said about Liz Cheney constituted a death threat under Arizona law. I'll tell you, under Arizona law, it is illegal to make threats or intimidate someone. Can be charged as a Class 1 misdemeanor, Class 6.
Yeah, I say that all the time, right? They always complain. People are threatening us and attacking us, and they're election interference, and they're going after our workers. Bill onesie twosie Gates. We got to be careful our workers. Okay, we got it, Bill. Relax. We don't talk like that here. But okay, anyways, he is saying that Chris Mays is now going to emerge and start prosecuting Trump for threats and intimidation. Chris Mays is the Attorney General. She's got some jurisdiction over these things. Is she going to say Trump's not a public official? It's not a private entity. He's got free speech. He can make these points. She's going to prosecute him over this. Chris Mays is trying to get involved in the politics of this in a last minute effort to give this story some credibility from her office. It's reprehensible. And it should be considered an abuse of office to threaten to investigate somebody for making a statement that is free speech protection. Here is the rest of this.
Felony. Chris Mays told me they're looking into it. I asked her whether this was just political speech, free speech. She said we're checking to see if it crossed that line. But she also put it in the larger perspective. If you're here right now, you begin to understand how this place is ready for a high security event on Tuesday, an election. Our sheriff's office is talking about a no tolerance policy for protests. Chris Mays is activating all her agents. Every law enforcement agency in the
Chris Mays is activating her agents to do what?
State.
She's our version of Jocelyn Benson, and she's not a Secretary of State. She's our Attorney General. She's our version of Dana Nessel from Michigan.
Is involved with protecting the vote, protecting voters. So that's Chris Mays brought that into the conversation, that for Donald Trump to make these kinds of remarks at this time, such a really fraught and tense moment here in Maricopa County, is just bad.
Well, that's because people like Chris Mays and people like MSNBC, which is where this is coming from, take contexts and spin them into lies. Comments. They take what Trump said out of context and lie about it. Drudge had Trump is going to execute Liz Cheney, all sorts of insane things. That's why things are tense. You guys are doing it. You're causing it. So Chris Mays is then going to deploy her agents all over Arizona to do what? What GRISWOLD is doing? Deputizing people to go in and take control of the elections. So meanwhile, other problems on the national security front, our states are a disaster and our elections are being governed by partisan hacks like GRISWOLD and Mays. But here we've got now ballots overseas, apparently having some difficulties reaching the troops who need to cast them. GOP lawmakers now sound the alarm on military voting deficiencies ahead of Election Day. Oops! Lawmakers say the Pentagon's stockpiles of ballots is depleted. Just like the leadership. Gone. We've got... Oh, did they send the ballots to Ukraine? It just hit me. Like a bolt of lightning. Everything else is depleted. Our treasury's depleted. Our military equipment's depleted. Now our ballots are depleted. Our oil reserves are depleted. The heck? Does Zelensky have those too? They sent him 100 billion ballots too with $100 billion? Sheesh. All right, so first on Fox, they say with just 4 days to go, lawmakers are demanding answers from Pentagon people. Active duty service members claim the Pentagon has not allocated enough resources to let them cast their ballots on time. And that the stockpile of write-in absentee ballots on at least one military base depleted. Zelensky has not been replenished, according to 3 GOP congressmen. Brian Mast, representative out of Florida, Bill Huizenga out of Michigan, important, and Florida, right? I'm not saying not all are important, but Florida and Michigan are very important states, penned a letter to the Secretary of Defense, Lloyd Austin, on Wednesday. He said, hey, Lloyd, is your face mask still on? With grave concerns about deficiencies in the Defense Department's protocols, they don't have options on how to vote. Our nation's brave men and women in uniform brought to our attention that there has been inadequate education on the administrative level about how to vote. Other absentee service members have stated that when a request for a write-in absentee ballot was made, they were told the base's stockpile was gone. Hey, can I get a ballot? No, we don't have any. I wonder why that might be. How do you think the demographics break down from military bases on this election? I don't know. Do they want Kamala Harris to engage in more wars, or would they prefer Donald Trump to end the wars? I don't know. Lawmakers, I have my guess though. The lawmakers say it is imperative that the Pentagon does everything in its power to equip them with the opportunity to vote. And Republicans asked, is there a sufficient stockpile of write-in absentee ballots? If not, we got to figure out what to do. Have they been given sufficient time? Are they going to be able to vote? Or is our Secretary of Defense trying to suppress the military vote like they're trying to suppress the vote elsewhere? In fact, they tried to suppress the vote of Trump entirely for the entire nation. So now we have another update from the very reliable FBI and the Director of National Intelligence and, of course, CISA, Cyber Infrastructure Security Agency, all liars who lied to us repeatedly. They came out with a new statement, and they said the following. Today, these 3 corrupt agencies released a joint statement on Russian election influence efforts. Oh, great. Here you go. Joint statement. Great. How many people are on this one? Is it 51? How many? Here's their press release. You can see very short statement, and it's just such a joke. Today, the Office of the Director of National Intelligence, the FBI, and CISA released the following statement. This is it right here. They say the IC assesses that Russian influence actors manufactured a recent video that falsely depicted individuals claiming to be from Haiti and voting illegally in multiple counties in Georgia. You may have seen the video. I have not seen this video, which is interesting because I see a lot of videos as we do show prep here. This judgment is based on information available to the intelligence community and prior activities of other Russian influence actors, including videos and other disinformation activities. The Georgia Secretary of State has already refuted the video's claims as false. Now, to be clear, I have seen his statement on it. I did see Raffensperger's statement about it, saying it's a fake video and misinfo. Okay, so Russian influence actors also manufactured a video falsely accusing an individual associated with the Democratic presidential ticket of taking a bribe from a U.S. entertainer. So we got fake videos. Now, the Russian activity is part of Moscow's broader effort to raise unfounded questions about the integrity of the U.S. election and stoke divisions among Americans, as detailed in prior reports. Wow. We certainly don't want anybody stoking divisions among Americans. That would be terrible. I mean, like if somebody called Trump Hitler or called his supporters fascists or called his supporters garbage or prosecuted their political opponents with 4 criminal charges or imprisoned a bunch of people who were protesting lawfully at the Capitol, which is their property, and were there peacefully. All of those things, and then having people lie about Trump, saying he wants to execute people and so on. What were those Russians who did all that? Did they do all of that happening right now? Wait, did the Russians censor us when we were trying to have a real conversation about COVID and about lockdowns? I don't think so. It was the FBI who did that. Yeah, they did that. Not Russia, not Moscow. Was Jimmy Kimmel earlier this week making jokes about Republicans voting late? Was that Russian disinformation? I don't know. Maybe he should be indicted. In the lead up to the election day and in the weeks and months after, the intelligence community expects more Russia to create and release additional media content that seeks to undermine trust in the integrity of the election and divide Americans. And we're hearing a stupid meme going around now when Trump is talking about keeping the cheating down. He talked about that a lot last night at the event. He said, we got to keep the cheating down. He's right. We do. We're covering it here every day. And we'll be here on Saturday and Sunday and throughout the election and here on election night, baby, as we ride this train to victory. Been covering it. They have this meme that Trump is saying cheating is occurring because he's trying to lay a foundation for saying the election is rigged. What is this document right here? But that. The intelligence community expects Russia to what? Make some videos that nobody even sees about stories. By the way, they should, I'm not saying that we don't want fake videos to spread all over the place, but we should be expecting that. And I'm not as concerned about the Russian fake videos. I can see fake videos. What I'm more concerned about when the Russians post a fake video or there's weird stuff spreading around, many of us can discern that. What's harder to discern is when Mika and Joe Brzezinski are out there lying to their audience about Russian collusion. And Jake Tapper is lying to his audience on CNN about Russian collusion, which never happened. That's what I'm more concerned about than some stupid Russian videos who are flying around. I'm concerned about our own so-called journalists on airwaves lying to us and telling us it's the truth. It's happening every day by greater and greater intensity by the minute. I mean, now they're saying Trump wants Cheney executed. So the media is the worst. And as Trump says, the enemy of the people for what they're trying to do to smear the president and to smear really the American people by lying to us through the official channels. We'll keep our eye on it. We'll see what the Russians are up to because we're sure it's going to be something. Thanks for subscribing as we do. All right. And now, speaking of our corrupt media, here is more. President Trump sues CBS News for $10 billion. That's a lot of money. And I hope he gets it, every penny of it. You can see there's a 19-pager that just got dropped, fresh out of the oven. President Trump against CBS Broadcasting. We're going to read through the lawsuit and see how much money he should be expecting here. And I hope it's a lot because this was election interference. It's CBS, who's on the public airwaves, who is manipulating a story in order to benefit a political friendly and hurt a political opponent, and they're dishonest in their process. Now, here is the clip that we're talking about. We remember this vividly because it was such a disaster, but we have on top what Kamala Harris said, and some intern made a bonehead mistake somewhere, posted the actual full video, then they deleted it, or made a change before it went live. And our friend Maze on X was the individual who captured this. A great follow at Maze Moore. Highly recommended. Does some great due diligence and assembled this for us. And here's what it looked like. Trump is suing them over this after a long battle to say, you got to release the full transcript. You got to release the full video or else.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Okay, much better the second time. Clipped out that whole rambling thing of, well, we caused some movements in the region that caused movements to happen, which we caused. Fixed it, edited it to make her look much better than she is. Totally dishonest. It's out of 1984, the Ministry of Truth. That is what's happening. And the journalists, so-called, are a part of it. And so now Trump is suing, and he wants $10 billion in damages, and we're hoping he gets it. Here's the number. $75,000, because it's greater than that amount, in damages. Got to be over that amount to be in federal court. And approximated at $10 billion with a B. Let's get every penny from CBS. They don't have that much, but that's too bad. So here's what Trump said. President Trump versus CBS News. They say, all right, look, this action concerns CBS's so-called news agencies, partisan and unlawful acts of election and voter interference through malicious, deceptive, and substantial news distortion that was calculated to confuse, deceive, and mislead the public in an attempt to tip the scales in favor of the Democratic Party as the heated 2024 presidential election emerges upon us. And Trump is leading, by the way. And that subjects CBS News, filed in Texas. Ooh, that's fun. CBS News violates Texas business and commercial code laws, which say it is illegal to provide false, misleading, or deceptive acts in trade or commerce. And so Texas law says you can't do that. From the moment the Democratic Party establishment ousted Joe Biden, says Trump, in an unprecedented and anti-democratic political coup, and since he installed Kamala as their replacement, which of course ignored the will of their primary voters, who cast 0 votes for Kamala, CBS News and other legacy media organizations have gone into overdrive to get Kamala elected. Notwithstanding Kamala's well-documented, deep unpopularity, even with her own party, these media organizations have tried to falsely recast her as the candidate of joy, whitewashed her lengthy record of policy failures, and painted over her repeated disqualifying gaffes. However, even with aid from the Fourth Estate, the media, Kamala's campaign has been unable to conceal embarrassing weaknesses about her, including her habit of uttering, quote, word salad, which are jumbles of exceptionally incoherent speech that have drawn disapproval even from dyed-in-the-wool Democratic commentators like Van Jones, David Axelrod, and mainstream media contributors. They give us the examples. CNN talked about it. Breitbart's got a clip. Fox News has a clip. Everybody says Kamala bumbles all over herself. To paper over Kamala's word salad weakness, CBS used its national platform on 60 Minutes to cross the line from exercising judgment in reporting to deceitful, deceptive manipulation of the news. On October 5th and 6th, CBS News aired 2 different versions of its 60 Minutes interview with Kamala. Bill Whitaker conducted the interview. In both versions of the interview, we'll call them the October 5th version and the October 6th version, Whitaker asks Kamala about Benjamin Netanyahu. Whitaker says to Kamala, he says, but it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening. Now, in the October 5th version that we listened to, Kamala replies with her typical word salad. She says, well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in several movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region. All right. Which means, I think it's like we wanted stuff to happen and so stuff happened, is like what she said. All right. In October 6th version, they're like, oh, crap. We got to make an edit. They call their editing team. Then they air another version. Kamala appears to reply with a completely different and a more succinct answer, saying, "We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end." Wow. Doesn't even sound anything like that at all. Totally different. Millions of Americans, including residents of Texas and this district, were confused and they were misled by the two doctored interview versions. Trump commented on the matter. He wrote about it on Truth Social. He says, in normal times, what happened on 60 Minutes, which was deceptively doctoring her answers, would be the end of anyone's campaign. Says Kamala is slow, incoherent, and in no way qualified to be the president of the United States. Release the tapes for the good of America. Trump says we can do it the nice way or the hard way. And now we're filing a lawsuit, baby. Says on October 20th, 2024, attempting unsuccessfully to stop the bad press, but without providing transparency, then CBS came out with a statement. They conceded that President Trump was accurate in his assertion that the interview was doctored to confuse, deceive, and mislead in order to try and interfere in the election. Now, I don't think they would agree with that, saying that they ultimately, let's see what their official statement is. They say, okay, Trump is accusing 60 Minutes of deceitful editing. 60 Minutes gave an excerpt of our interview to Face the Nation that used a longer section of her answer than that on 60 Minutes. Same question, same answer, but a different portion of the response. All right. So it's actually a different aired answer. Same question, but it was a different aired answer. When we edit any interview, whether a politician or athlete or whatever, we strive to be clear. The portion of her answer on 60 Minutes was more succinct, which allows time for other subjects because it was only 21 minutes. And they say, and by the way, Trump didn't even show up for an interview. At least she showed up. Our longstanding invitation to Trump remains. And so we can't have him. They want him to come so they can interview him and edit him adversely, the opposite of how they interviewed her. But they do admit there that they did make a change and that the answers were ultimately different. They just say the aired answers were different. As President Trump stated, and as made crystal clear in the video, he said a giant fake news scam by CBS in 60 Minutes. He says her real answer was crazy or dumb, so they actually replaced it with another answer in order to save her or at least make her look better. A fake news scam, he said, which is totally illegal. Take away CBS's license. Yep. It's propaganda. It's fake propaganda. Why should they have a public license? Election interference, says she's a moron, and the fake news media wants to hide that fact. An unprecedented scandal here. The Dems got them to do this and should be forced to concede the election. Wow. Question mark. Question mark. Indeed, it is a matter of public record, says Trump's defense, that CBS cut portions of Kamala's answer to a question about the war in Gaza in its initial broadcast, but later provided an allegedly full transcript of her remarks online. The next day, Trump's lawyers demanded via a letter that CBS immediately release the full unedited transcript of the interview. So they sent a letter, release the full thing. And Trump sent that letter. Here's what it looks like. I do have Exhibit A pulled up right here. And it looks like this came out on October 21st. So I'll just show you the highlight of this. We write on behalf of our client, President Trump. We know this was doctored in order to mislead the American people. You cut portions of this. And so now you have intentionally misled the public by broadcasting a skillfully edited interview while opting to release other portions online. It's manipulation. It's causing confusion, and you have a responsibility to accurately represent the truth of the events. Trump is right that you're doctoring the evidence, and so the executives here are unquestionably aware that the purpose of this edit is to confuse the electorate and to portray Harris in a better light than she is. And so we kindly want you to release these materials now. Signed by Edward Andrew Paltzik, counsel to President Trump. So that went out. Now, instead of doing the right thing, CBS's counsel retreated from the statement. They provided a hasty, weakly worded response letter, love it, stating that CBS would decline to provide an unedited transcript. Nope, sorry. President Trump sent a second letter and another one. Now, CBS remains intransigent even after the Center for American Rights submitted a broadcast distortion complaint against them. Commenting on the complaint, the commissioner said, once trust is lost, it's very difficult to regain. And we agree with that, they say. Rigging or slanting the news is the most heinous act against the public interest. Indeed, there is no act more harmful to the public's ability to handle its affairs, says the FCC complaint. And our mainstream media, which is supposed to be bringing us truth, is not. This rings particularly true, where broadcasters are public trustees. There's only so many airwaves that can be utilized, so many frequencies that you can broadcast on. And they are entrusted to use them appropriately. They have not done that. They have deceived tens of millions of American citizens, and they did it knowingly. Trump is a citizen. CBS is a corrupt media company, and we know who the parties are. They tell us. The idea that CBS edited the interview for time is ridiculous. It's disingenuous. However, this alleged innocent refrain is contradicted by both the facts and the malicious doctoring of the news. You can see their animosity towards President Trump and other Republicans. This is not the first time that CBS has engaged in unethical or unlawful behavior. Their misconduct here is evocative of Dan Rather. Remember him in 2004? When he presented to America 4 forged documents as authentic to try to take out Bush. CBS has recently proven that old habits die hard. They indulge in dishonest reporting about Trump. For example, as reported by Fox News journalist Trace Gallagher during a recent panel discussion, said CBS is now getting slammed again for airing a thinly sourced and false story about Trump disparaging a slain army specialist and refusing to pay her expenses. Remember that? Family came out and said totally false. They just lie. According to CBS's online promotion of 60 Minutes, they say we've been the #1 news show in America for 50 years. They say undeniably they do have significant viewership in Texas and nationally, and with that considerable reach causes the ability to do great harm through their reporting. When Bill Whitaker was doing his introduction, he demonstrated his institutional bias against Trump as an attacker against Kamala. They said Kamala Harris has been a candidate for president for just 2.5 months, and the post-convention honeymoon is over. With the election just 29 days away, Harris and her running mate, Tim Walz, he said, face unrelenting attacks from Trump. Attacks. The transcript contains the following exchange as well. He said, we supply Israel with billions of dollars, and Netanyahu seems to be charting his own course. She says, the work that we do diplomatically with the leadership of Israel is an ongoing pursuit around making clear our principles. It's like, what? But it seems that Netanyahu is not listening. The transcript says we're not going to stop pursuing what is necessary. Got that. The video of the interview also contains the shorter, doctored version, the wrong version, and conspicuously and conveniently missing is her word salad, which they nuked out of there. So now the gravamen of the complaint. They say we also filed an FCC complaint. They said same interview, same question, 2 completely different answers. The complaint directly observed that the interview was an act of significant and substantial news alteration made in the middle of a campaign. Now, although CBS has the right to exercise reasonable judgment in their edits, sure, they crossed the line. It transformed an answer into a fundamentally different answer. Not allowed to do that. They also filed a complaint. It highlighted CBS's deceptive editing, but also its lack of transparency. They have not provided the complete transcript, and they've done that for many other interviews. In fact, the concealment of the transcript is proof of its corrupt and partisan motives. Molly Hemingway, shout out, she's amazing, said the fact that 60 Minutes is refusing to release the full unedited transcript of its interview with Kamala Harris is a huge scandal. suggests that much of the entire finished product was manipulative and deceitful, and not just the one horrible example that we covered. As Hemingway observed, CBS's misconduct goes even further than the deceptive editing and the concealment. An additional problem arises from their deception. It is reasonable to infer that other parts of the interview were also edited. And so accordingly, the FCC complaint sought as relief what was necessary to examine the deceit. They wanted the full transcript. The public reactions to the complaint by 2 FCC commissioners also speaks volumes. CBS is hiding its misconduct and its truth, and that is tortious, illegal. And suddenly, this is great, 60 minutes, when it comes to Kamala Harris, it suddenly became 21 minutes when Kamala was there. Not 60 minutes anymore. Inflation. Neither the FCC complaint nor correspondence from Trump's counsel changed their intransigence about releasing of the transcript. They're still not going to do it. In Trump's first letter, his lawyers made a straightforward and fair demand. Release it. Besides concealing the truth, CBS lacks any justification to decline to release it. Why not? Any news organization should welcome the opportunity to set the record straight. You guys talked to her. Isn't it amazing? Why isn't she brilliant? Publish it. So CBS hid behind the predictable and unsubstantiated defense that the interview was edited for time because we only had 21 minutes. And their counsel said, we declined to give you the unedited transcript. Sorry. Now, their explanation that the interview was edited for time defies common sense and logic. Inclusion of the complete, real, and unintelligible version of Kamala's answer would have added at most mere seconds to the interview. It's like 5 seconds of her. Instead, viewers were left with a fake version of her answer, which was doctored to such an extent that the meaning of the answer was fundamentally altered in order to make her seem concise and intelligent, which she is not. That's true. Indeed, this was not a case in which the edited answer captured the gist of her response. Not at all. It left viewers with 2 completely different answers, a real one and a fake one. And so this is a violation of Texas law. Not allowed to do it. A consumer may maintain an action where there's a false, misleading, or deceptive practice that's relied upon to the consumer's detriment. Trump is a consumer. He's sought and received CBS's broadcast services, and he's a leading presidential candidate as well. And he stands in the shoes of each Texas voter who's entitled to honest services that are expected from CBS. FCC and their licensees are granted to CBS-owned entities. The FCC has stated rigging or slanting the news is the most heinous act against the public interest. It's true. CBS has failed in its duty to provide these services. They've been false, misleading, deceptive, and acting unconscionably to the detriment of news. They engaged in multiple false, misleading, and deceptive acts. They doctored Kamala's answer to attempt to improve her electoral chances. They tried to damage Trump. They intentionally created the appearance that she gave a concise answer about Benjamin, but she did not, for the same purpose of aiding Kamala and damaging Trump. They also edited her other version to create the appearance that she was articulate, that she's decisive, when in reality, her full answer was a jumbled word salad that harms her electoral chances. Posting the fake version was trying to tip the scales in her favor, and then doubling down and refusing to release an accurate transcript enables the deception to continue. Now, CBS in 60 Minutes, they intentionally misled the public. They posted a carefully edited and deceptively edited video and transcript to manipulate the voters. Organizations like CBS are responsible for accurately representing the truth. They're not supposed to make their preferred candidate appear to be coherent. She is most certainly not. Her actions and CBS's actions, through them, we can't tell the truth. Is she concise or not? CBS misled President Trump and would-be voters, millions of Texans. Here, Whitaker's questions to Kamala was of the utmost public significance. It was about foreign policy. It's about war. And Whitaker's question was even more significant because Kamala mostly ducked interviews and other media opportunities. Then CBS further misled and deceived Trump and millions of people in Texas and violated the broadcast distortion policy because the source of Kamala's edited answer in the interview was not Kamala at all. CBS did the editing and they did the confusing. People rely on CBS to not be hacks. The edited broadcast created confusion because that's what CBS intended to do whatever it takes to portray Kamala as intelligent, as someone who's well-informed and confident, when in fact, she is none of the above. Whereas here, CBS and its employees know the false and deceptive and misleading edits occurred, liability attaches to them. They knew they were doctoring the video. They knew the transcript was intended to confuse the electorate with the edits. Now, put simply, their editorial misconduct here makes them liable under Texas law. And because of CBS's attempts and their brazen attempt to interfere in the 2024 presidential election in an unconscionable manner, and because of CBS's false, misleading, and deceptive conduct, President Trump has sustained damages in an amount greater than $75,000 to get us into federal court, and reasonably believed to be at least $10 billion. Trump is also entitled to an order enjoining and stopping CBS from continuing to post the deceptive video and require them to post the full video and give us the unedited transcripts of the video in video and transcript form. Submitted by Trump's defense team, plaintiff's team, really, Edward Andrew Paltzik from Texas and Chris D. Parker. Shout out to Daniel, Edward, and Chris signing off on a $10 billion lawsuit. And I hope they get it. Every penny. We'll keep our eye on it, of course. Fun lawsuit. I don't think Trump's going to get $10 billion. We'll see where it goes. Texas is a very favorable jurisdiction to be in. And I love how they filed it there versus some other jurisdiction. So maybe it'll go forward because what they did was fraudulent. They prosecuted Trump for fraud for writing a check to his lawyer that said legal expense because he was paying his lawyer. They said that was fraud. Found him guilty 34 times in a fake prosecution that used the law that was totally manipulated. But stuff like this, look the other way because it's all in service of stopping Trump and ensconcing themselves in power. And so whatever it takes, the Democrats are ruthless, which is why we're glad you're here. Thanks for joining us as we continue to shine the spotlight down on these cases and more. We appreciate you subscribing, and thanks for bringing a friend over here to join us live. And we'll look forward to seeing you and them back here on the next one. All right, my beautiful friends. So if you're just joining us, we had 3 good segments on the day. Man, we talked some good Colorado stuff. Jena GRISWOLD is under fire, and she's been asked to resign by county clerks. And she just deployed an election operation overnight. It's like out of a movie. And they had apparently hundreds of machines updated, their biosystems updated overnight. Incredible. After she passed a rule for herself in Colorado. Interesting times there. Now, Pennsylvania, more fraud. It's expanding beyond just the one county in Lancaster. Now it's elsewhere in multiple counties. We did a full segment on that as the district attorneys start to investigate. They have connected this back to a Democratic firm in Arizona that has apparently deleted their website now so that we can't learn more about them. But that operation was called Field and Media Corps, apparently registering voters fraudulently, allegedly, in Pennsylvania and elsewhere. And then we talked CBS and Trump's $10 billion lawsuit, baby. But now it's time to hear from you and see what you have to say about this, my friends. Thank you so much for being here. It's election season. I hope you're feeling good and energized and positive and optimistic and that you voted. Or if you're intending to vote on election day, you've got a plan and you have cordoned off time on your calendar to vote no matter what, because there are issues, as we've seen in Pennsylvania, long lines and things like that. We want everybody to get in and get it done. So now, my friends, let's hear from you. Of course, thank you so much for becoming members and for supporting our work here. Thanks for grabbing a t-shirt from our friends at 2A Republic. Links in the description. If you just became a member, we had a great members only stream this morning where we did a little bit more of a debrief. I was at the Trump Tucker thing last night, and we've been posting some videos from that event. I was out front and out back, and so some other updates there. So membos, check those out, and thanks for being membos. We're grateful for you. Okay, we had some amazing comments in the house, and this one came in. Hey, Donut. Exactly. When it's Friday, this is what it feels like, baby. It's Friday. Happy to have it. Of course, we're going to be back here tomorrow and on Sunday. It's election season, so it's all hands on deck. We got some corruption we got to cover, and so we'll be back here. But it's going to be fun. I'm going to feel like that tomorrow and on Sunday and on Monday and especially on Tuesday. Thank you, Donut, for that one and for clipping for us on the day. Ollie bringing in a membo. Thank you, Ollie. Snowman here got gifted a membo. Check out the stream from this morning. Here's one. Ollie says, one who knows is a membo. Sheila Lawson Barely Done became a membo. Welcome. Wild Soul is here. Charles R. Drew Goedkin in the house. Thank you, Ollie, for bringing in 6 membos today. You're amazing. Appreciate that. And welcome, new friends. Hey, Milo Phone Bill says, I find the George Clooney advertisement an interesting view into Democrats. They're trying to get one partner in a relationship to vote for Kamala. I love my partner. We do things trusting each other. Kamala is asking people to violate the trust with your partner for a vote for her. She or her handlers must think that Clooney can seduce that vote. Shaking my head, desperate. I have not seen that. Is that a thing? Like Clooney's like, get out there and like do the opposite of your husband? Is that what they're saying? Would it be appropriate to tell men to get out and do the opposite of what your wife wants to do? I don't think so. I think it's a little bit strange. But Kamala, I think, has a weird marriage because her husband is an alleged domestic abuser. Hey, what's up? Rick Donner. Thanks for this one. Oh, yeah, Rick. We covered this. You great minds think alike. Did I get that from you? Maybe I did. Says, anyways, thanks for sharing it. Either way. GOP lawmakers sound the alarm on the election ballots. Rick, what's up? Says, I voted first day of early voting here. Have now transported 57 elderly to vote early and have 19 more scheduled for Tuesday. Let's go, Rick. Getting out the vote. And I was explaining this morning, I'm texting my bros out there. There's a bro problem. Okay, we have a bro problem. Dudes aren't turning out as much. So bros, don't let bros vote for fill it in. And we vote. So Rick Donner, thanks for transporting our friends to vote. Doing amazing work. Appreciate that. Hey, Rick Donner says, okay, the reality series Jersey Shore was more believable than anything from the DNI office at this point. Okay. Yeah, I think that's about right. Jersey Shore. That was the one with the Jim Tan guys. Is that right? Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about. Sounds right, yeah. Hey, what's up? CF Rob on Rumble. Oh no! Russians released the BIOS passwords out on the internet for months. How many votes have been changed by the Democrat machine in Arizona? Yeah, it's a good question. We're trying to get to the bottom of it. Who knows? Oh, there was another good order. We'll probably talk about that tomorrow. I think Arizona had an order. Yes, there was. America First Legal had a victory today. And they won the disclosure of the names in those 210,000 bucket of voters. So we'll probably hit that one tomorrow, Rob. Thanks for that. Chubby says, I'm sure that air assets means first-class flights at taxpayer expense. It's probably helicopters. I'd like to know in a FOIA request, what were the air assets? What were they? Were they literally flying people around in helicopters to different locations? Or what was going on? Because you're not flying like airplanes, right? Or like all across Colorado. Did they use a helicopter? I bet they did. Rick D. Wait, in 24 hours, they identified people who were qualified, trained, and are dispatching them to check in Colorado? When I was with the 10th SOG, we didn't alert and deploy that fast. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It was a full operation, man. And they went in pairs and everybody looked at everything. It was amazing. They did it all instantly. Rule was passed. We woke up and it was done. Less than 24 hours, probably like 12 hours. Insane. Yeah. Hey, what's up? Rick Donner. Thank you, Rick. Thanks for bringing in 5 membos. Really grateful. Look who's here. SSG, Adam Juneman. Welcome. Mahalo Man in the house. We got Code Red, Brandon McNeely, and Squeak 6723. Gifted membos, courtesy of Rick D in the house. Thank you, Rick. Hey, Pritchie says the UK is an absolute crap show when the government we now have. When Trump wins, I'm packing my wife and kids and dog up and moving to America. Come on over here, Pritchie. I promised I won't jump the wall. Well, you might get more benefits if you do. If you come over here, they're going to make you fill out a bunch of forms. You should just come across the border illegally. You get healthcare, hotels, you'll probably become a citizen. Just pretend you're going to vote for Harris. Do it quickly. Just pretend you're going to vote for Harris and they'll let you in. Says, I promise I won't jump the wall. I'll pay my way and I'll do it legally. Legally. We love our legal immigrants. Thank you, Pritchie. And we love our friends in the UK. Sorry what you guys are going through, man. I have like a pain when I think about it because we're kind of kindred spirits in a way. Anyways, I'll save that for another conversation. Pritchie, thank you for that. And we'll see you when you get here. Bringing in 10 membos. Thank you, Pritchie. Christy Medlock, Last WAP Bender. We got Abs Fifi, Randy Mills, Aaron S., Baka Niku, Jaga, Cool Guy, Andres Leal, Rotor Fib, Thomas Johns, Felizago in the house, courtesy of Pritchie26. Thank you, Pritchie, for bringing in 10 new membos. Jay Water, Road Less Wolf, 7 months as a membo, says rule changes ain't law changes. Impeach Grizwold. Grizzy. Crazy Eyes Griswold in the house. Sheila Pooh. Hey, Sheila. Thank you, Sheila. Thanks for bringing in 10 membos. Look who's here, courtesy of our friend Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Diana Pearson. TG gifted a membo. Wire Rat. Aaron's here. Rox is here. AJ My DJ. Amanda McCarty. Pablo Aki. Dude Duck Sauce. Ann is here. And we got Maynard shouting out Sheila Pooh. A million hugs to you. Bringing in our newest of membos. Woo! We got some more membos coming in, I see coming up. Here's one from Timothy Farelli. 3 months as a membo. Says, if someone can set a password, why a new rule? Well, I think the new rule is going to give her justification to access the things again, right? Like, there's probably a bunch of rules like do your testing, do your software. Everything needs to be certified and validated by this date. Like there's a deadline. So she needs a new rule to get through the rule that says you can't touch the machines. So it's a new BIOS password rule that they deployed instantly. Very, very sneaky. Hey, Pritchie, 20 membos coming in. Look at this. Thank you, Pritchie. Welcome, new friends. Welcome, Derek, Craig Cooper. A series of bats is here. Ramsey, unapologetically conservative in the house. Old lady, Kevin and Tina, Chris McLean, Sharon Alexander, Tyler's here. And we got more. Jen, welcome. Jean Lee, Great Chef Antonio, Bruce Rose, Motivational Humor Happiness, Francis Dietner, Garrett House, John Buckley, High Flight, and James Winkler. Gifted membos, courtesy of Pritchie. Pritchie, thanks for that. And new membo friends, grab the stream from this morning. We do members streams in the morning. Tomorrow we'll be live everywhere when we go live. And time on that TBD. We got to see what the news looks like. But we'll be back tomorrow. We'll go live and we'll see you tomorrow. What's up, Sheila Pooh? Paper ballots, same day voting. Stop the chaos. Stop the chaos. Good to see you, Sheila. Voice says you can also do a clean format and partition from the BIOS. That will erase everything beyond recovery unless the government wants to pay for it. Yeah, that's right. I used to do that. I used to do that a lot. Go in there, boot into thing, format, FAT32. And then what was the other form? It was FAT32. And then it was like NDisk or something. NTF something. Format it, wipe everything, start fresh. It's nice having a nice clean hard drive. It feels great. It's like getting your car washed. It's like great. I used to do that a lot. Then I used to defrag my hard drives. Remember that? Defrag your hard drives. Like, well, I'm going to defrag my hard drive. And I'm going to get my RAM cleaned out. Get those RAM cleaners. Spyware removers. Remember those? Oh, yeah. It's great. Great times. Well, you had to because sometimes your Napster would get overflowing with garbage. So you had to have spyware, obviously. Hey, what's up? Pritchie says, nice to catch one live. Been having to watch them the next day lately. Booked the day off to watch the election, though. Amazing. Good. We're going to be streaming for a while on election night. I think we'll start at the regular time because that'll be about 3 p.m. I think the clock changes. So if we start at 3 p.m., that'll be about 5 p.m. East Coast time, and we'll just wait for the polls to come in, baby. I can't wait. I'm excited. Sheila Poo, if you thought her eyes were crazy before, wait to see what they look like when she's hit with a felony. Yeah, those mugshot eyes. Can you imagine Griswold's mugshot eyes? Rough. Hey, Miata Mama in the house. 1 to 3 years in the DOC per password. Exactly right. Exactly right. And every day that they were online was a continuing offense as well. And all the other repercussion from that. So aggravating factors per password consecutively too. We're not running those sentences concurrently. One after another, back to back. We'll see you in 2,000 years, Jena. Enjoy. Eric, what's up? 10 membos coming in. Thank you, Eric, for bringing them in. Duck Mac is coming in. Jay Mongoose. We got Super String X, Breathless 807. Super Chihuahuas here. Bon Bon, Matt Hyde, FT in the house. Alive Code Online. Paul Borbely. Gifted membos courtesy of Eric. Thank you, Eric, for bringing in new membos. Here's this. Hi, Eric. It's from little baby Yoda, who's just adorable. I mean, isn't that just cute as can be? Hey, what's up? I don't know what that one is. Oni. What's up, Oni? Says, hey, what's up, Oni? Thanks for being a membo and bringing in new membos. This one from Abraham Garcia. Lethal Old in the house. Matthews here, Melissa Raz, and Mark Clemens. Gifted membos courtesy of Oni in the house. What's up, Robert Stoner? Just became a membo. You also don't have to wait to be gifted a membo. You can just become a membo if you love us enough. Sheila Poo says, 1.2 thousand likes, but there's more than 4,000 people in the chat. Could you do us a favor, everybody, and smash the like button no matter where you're watching it? That'd be awesome, amazing, and helpful. Thank you, Sheila, for the reminder. And Rick Donner says, he never said that. He never said that. Probably talking about Trump and the lying Democrat hacks. Hey, Cheryl says the Colorado CIO, David Ettinger, and CISO, Jill Fraser, must answer to how these system updates were permitted and performed. They're just as responsible now, too. Yeah, and everybody else who was involved and what resources they were involved in, and did the other parties know at all? Did the did the state legislature have any say on this? Did any other executive branch officials have any problems with this? Did they notify any of, victims who or any, there's process for this. B.H. Williams, isn't accusing someone of a crime knowing it is false considered defamation? Knowing it is false. So if you have actual malice, yeah, if you go out and try to smear somebody, and if you accuse certain crimes can be, right? Like if you accuse somebody of sex crimes and stuff like that can be defamation per se, maybe what you're talking about. Does AZ have an official oppression statute, like an official oppression statute? This AG is either a moron or a criminal. Oh, I see. It's a Chris Mace thing. She must resign or be removed. No, but I think what you're probably going after, B.H. Williams, would be like a malicious prosecution. Okay, she's using her office maliciously. It's a misconduct problem. She knows Trump didn't commit a crime, but she's still using the power of her office to smear him and lend credence to the idea that maybe he did. And that's misconduct. And she's a licensed attorney, so she should know better than to do that. There is no crime here. It's fake. Hey, Sheila Poo, CBS, NBC, and ABC should all lose their broadcast licenses. They behaved despicably for the last how many years now? Yeah, I saw a good idea from David Sachs, actually, who was talking about this. He said that he does a bunch of software business development, I think software as a service stuff, and said that there's a lot of other entities like tech companies that would really prefer to have those frequencies. and utilize those for their services. And these public companies, or CBS, NBC, these media companies have done a bad job as being stewards of the airwaves, so that they should be delivered to people who'll be better caretakers of the public airwaves. Alejandro, what's up? Thank you, Alejandro, bringing in 5 membos and being a membo. Alejandro. And what a very great, fun picture. Thanks, brother, for being here. Says the Kings, Don Stout, Deb is in the house, Dahl Ben, and Joe Sullivan. Gifted membos, courtesy of Alejandro Perez. Thank you, Alejandro. Awesome having you here. Sheila Poo is bringing in 10 more membos. Sheila, thanks again for more friends coming in, courtesy of our friend Sheila. Heath Lewis is here. Wyote 13, Gooey Barracuda in the house. JM, James McGuire, Renee Gamanche, Let's Go Brandon, what's up? Grant Daly, Trillium Woods, Mark Markin in the house, and everybody shouting out Sheila Poo. A million hugs to you. We love you, Sheila. Thanks for bringing friends in. Voice of the People says, sorry, the 2012 NDAA allows propaganda. Smith-Mund Act signed by Obama. So CBS News can't be taken out for that. Yeah, do you think that overlaps with FCC licensing? I think what's the overlap there? Sheila Poo says, I'm going to keep gifting even though those active in the chat aren't getting them. Hoping we'll bring more patriots into our community. Thank you, Sheila. So people aren't getting them? So my friends, if you want to get these gifts, there is a setting that you need to change or to address. I think it's in the mobile app. When you're in the chat, there's just a setting. Go into your settings, accept gifted membos, and then the generosity from Sheila and all of our friends who gift membos can come your way. So yeah, check that setting. And apparently, does that setting go back automatically, like it reverts back? So you may have changed it before, but try changing it again. Sheila, thanks for that. Hopefully people are getting the membos. Glocky says, breaking now, Trump is going to win. Here's an update. Major win for the Pennsylvania GOP. This is an update from somebody. Says, struck down a date requirement for the mail-in ballot. They just stayed that ruling and put the date requirement back into effect. Ooh, good. Okay, so let's come back. Let's circle back on that one tomorrow. Rick Donner is sending this one too. Yeah, remember in Pennsylvania, there was a battle over the dates on the outer envelopes. So we have an opinion on that, which we'll come back to tomorrow. Thanks for that, Rick. Awesome. Hey, Donna Oldham, thanks for becoming a supporter. Appreciate you signing up. And hopefully you enjoyed the members only stream and some of the videos from the Tucker Trump event last night. Hey, what's up? We're going over to X here in a minute. Actually, X is Zulu right here. What's up? Zulu Excite. What's up, Zulu? Bringing in Bonita. Zulu, thanks for being a mod. Bringing in 10 membos and being a membo yourself. Bonita Beach is coming in. Pound for pound, 147. It's a good weight class. Gwen N. Sea Travel. We got Odor of Mendacity in the house. From Fulton County. Welcome. Jay Rollins. Channel Daniels. Truth Seeker. Chris Nelson and Myra Gillen in the house, courtesy of Zulu and 10 membos. Brian Bishop says, what if we are an average looking friend? And is this related to texting your bros? Well, I don't think that they're probably, I don't know, maybe. Do they care about your attractiveness? I can't imagine they do. And by the way, Brian, I'm sure you're handsome as hell, bro. You're here. We have the best looking audience on the whole internet. You're here. Thanks for being here. You're clearly a good looking dude. That's why you're here. Just Rhonda says, wishing everyone a fabulous weekend, and I'll see y'all, but you may or not see me tomorrow. Just Rhonda is having YouTube trials and tribulations with YouTube chat. Sometimes she's available and visible, and sometimes she's not, because YouTube's playing games, it sounds like. Wishing everyone a fabulous weekend. Maybe I'll see you, maybe not. See you tomorrow. Dia de los Muertos, 4 days. Vote! Is that coming up in 4 days? I don't know when that is. Hey, Just Rhonda, thanks for that. Sorry about your YouTube trials, but glad to have you here. Hopefully we see you tomorrow. Barry N. McGrowan. What's up? Says, it looks like If it looks like Trump is the winner on election night, Elon should call the race on X before the fake news can spin it. Yeah, that's a good idea too. Yeah, we don't need to rely on Fox News calling Arizona after 90 minutes after polls close. All right, all that fakeness. What's up? F. Joe Biden says, because the government doesn't want to acknowledge this, I'll state it. Policies and rules are not laws. Yeah, no, Jena just created her own rule. Her office created their own rule. Nobody was involved in that. They just made it up like a little dictatorship. Hello, Jim. Welcome. Hello, Jim. Thanks for bringing in a new membo. We got Magnolia Rose. Gifted a membo courtesy of Jim R. Thank you, Jim R, for doing that. And we got Chris Solitary 1. 10 months as a membo. Thank you, Chris. Chris 1. Great work, Rob from Canada. We all need Trump. You're right about that, Chris. And I believe a strong America is good for the world. I think all countries are interested in sound currencies, less war, borders, good economies, safe streets. It's good for everybody. Milo Phone Bill says, don't forget to bleach bit those voting machines. You remember? Like with a cloth, like Hillary did. Maybe she was there. They had Hillary Clinton. They gave her one of those mustaches and a clipboard. I'm here to fix your tech support. What's your experience? Are you biased? No, I'm not biased at all. I have a lot of experience. I've deleted thousands of emails instantly. This is a job we need done quickly. How quick can you move? Thousands of emails overnight. Don't even worry about it. In fact, we have hammers. We'll smash our phones with them. Hey, Jim R. I honestly don't know how we could possibly lose this election without some serious fraud. The BIOS issue, it's like they know we won't do anything. Yeah, you're right. What are we going to do? The machines are changed. No judge is going to throw out the Colorado election like the Libertarian Party is essentially asking for. They're going to say all the machines need to be taken out of service and decommissioned right now. Never happen. Should. I mean, if it was a DUI case and something happened like this and there was a major problem, the courts would look very heavily at the results that came out of the DUI machine until we had a root cause analysis and a bunch of process in place to evaluate everything. You'd say that machine is totally unreliable. And she just like opened them up. She's like opened up the DUI machine, twisted some knobs, closed it back up, put it back on the line, and just said, go back to it. It's totally corrupted. And they're just going to allow it to happen. So thanks, Jim. Hey, what's up, Rick? Hey, just curious, why is it going to take 10 to 13 days to count just one county? I don't know which county you're talking about, but maybe Arizona. And that's because our elections are corrupt. Really what they say is that they have deadlines, right? And they're just meeting the deadlines and it's all state law and stuff. Like they've got excuses for it, but I agree. It should not take that long. RP says they need to publish the SHA-256 hash for the virtual machines, as without it, it becomes impossible to authenticate for recertification. Do they even have it on file? Yeah, it's probably in that spreadsheet on Jena's Facebook. Hey, thanks, RP. Rick Donner says YouTube is good at changing all your settings without notice. That is true. Yeah, that is true. So if you thought you were on a gifted membo status, but you're not getting gifted membos, that could be that. Hey, what's up? Mark Butcher says, thanks for keeping it real. Thanks, Rob, for keeping it real. Thank you, Mark, for keeping it real with us, my man. I appreciate that. We have to keep it real. How else is there to live? You know what I'm talking about. Thank you, Mark. What's up? We got who else but John? It's John McGarvey bringing in 5 membos. The Green Knight Errant coming in. Chuck S. WJ4K in the house. Michelle Cox is here. Tulio Solorzano, welcome. And Michael Boyle, gifted membos, courtesy of who else but John? All right, so what's going on? Jim R. in the USA. In Peru, we have citizen voting cards. Why not there? Why not there? Here in the United States, well, because the machines are much better than the voting cards. The machines know all, and they'll tell you who your leader is. So just trust the machines. Hey, Barry N. McGrowan says, who sucks more at their job? Our transportation secretary or Kamala? Good question. I don't know. It's probably very close competition. Jax North says, let's not forget that a Stuxnet lived in the air-gapped Iranian nuclear program computer for over a year, with everyone looking for the issue while it was able to destroy hundreds of centrifuges. That was a crazy story, by the way. I remember that. I forget how old I was when that was going on. I'm like, what the hell? 14 years later, we do not know how the malware got on a thumb drive that ended up passing the rootkit into the Iranian system. But yeah, the Colorado computers are perfectly safe. Yeah, exactly. With their passwords on the internet. Good comment, Jax North. I remember that. And was that Mossad? I mean, who ultimately was behind that? Do we know? I think it has to be Mossad. I mean, thinking about that with the beepers blowing up and all that stuff. But it must have been another, I mean, wasn't that another like hardware hack? Like they actually created a company and built the chips and then they sent the chips in, something like that. Crazy times. All right. Thanks, Jax North. Great comment and a fun trip down memory lane on that one. Hey, we got some comments over on X. Thank you, Donut, for clipping for us today. And for flagging some stories on this one. Oh, wow. Breaking news. DoorDash just updated their rules for drivers now. They're going to follow the Democrat rule for election. DoorDash drivers are now going to be allowed to eat any food they're delivering. And when it gets to you, it's still good and filled with integrity. Jenna Ellis especially can go through that and just dig into your mashed potatoes. Hey, James Pepper says, I want to just honor Super Chihuahua, which we will. Super Chihuahua. It's actually pretty cool. You know, dog looks very nice and regal. Might actually be kind of fun to have around if it's in that outfit. Hey, James Pepper says, we're ready to fight this fight. Good to see you, James Pepper. We've got Tiff Dog says, seems like it's some sort of a crime organization. Jenna definitely didn't act alone. I wonder who else is complicit in this. And Carrie B says, Maze is pathetic. She wanted to get names in the news because nobody knows who she is and nobody cares. Yeah, that's a good point, Carrie B. She's trying to be like Jocelyn Benson. She's like, God, you're so inspirational to me. I also want to take pictures and make videos with Hillary Clinton. How can I be like you? They're like, well, you have to threaten Trump with prosecution. For what? Anything. Make it up. She's like, oh, that's great. At their little group text chats about rigging elections. So that's what I think happens in those circles. Wouldn't surprise me a bit. Okay, so my friends, we're going to leave it there. It has been a beautiful day, a beautiful Friday. I hope your week has been outstanding and you've accomplished all the things you've set your mind to. We are going over to Locals to hang out for a little bit. We will be back tomorrow. We'll do a full stream and we'll hit some other lawsuits and see what else is cooking out there because a bunch of stuff came skidding in today at the last minute. And there's emergency here, emergency there. So we'll be back tomorrow. We'll get into it again. Thanks for setting your notifications and for joining us tomorrow. Thanks for inviting someone else to come over and check this out, especially if they're interested in the last minute election changes, which we'll be paying extra close attention to over the weekend. My friends, come and join us over on Locals. Otherwise, we'll see you back here tomorrow. Until then, my friends, I hope that you're having a beautiful Friday and that you join us back here tomorrow to get into it again. Because in order to do that appropriately, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Get those ballots in. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye, my friends.